Welcome back. So in a previous video we had done some platforming, had a character walking around, and did some terrain editing. And this is the same scene as before, except for I made some changes. I actually changed our original platforming into some little plateaus over here, and fixed up some of the terrain to make it a little smoother. In some cases a little more jagged, such as the mountains up here. But everything's still here, everything's still the same. But now I'm going to go through building a structure out of primitives, doing prefabs, and then working with materials on that structure. So we have this little plateau thing, and I think this plateau would be great for a small building of sort. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these trees real quick by going back to the terrain, and let's go back to the trees, and then instead of painting it, we're going to hold shift to erase the trees, and I want to make sure I don't erase other ones. So hold shift and just click, and it erases the trees. I also need to erase the grass. So go to details, hold shift, and slowly pull away the grass. Let's turn that opacity up a bit and clear the rest of this away. Some of it's okay to be here still, but I need most of this plateau for a building. And this is kind of hanging off the side, so I don't want that. Then we've got this dirt path that leads up. So right around here, I'm going to do, this probably should all be dirt because there's going to be something sitting on it. Then we can repaint grass in where we need to. So I'm going to go to paint texture and click on the dirt, and then let's go ahead and, actually this should be fine, just paint right here. Just make a dirt kind of flat area, and this is where that building is going to go. So there we go. And now we need some walls. So I'm going to go to game object and create other, and then we're going to go cube, and this cube's going to be our floor. So I'm going to name it floor, and let's move it to where we're working. So there it is. There's a cube. And floor isn't going to be that size. We're going to have to make it a little longer, so let's go 10. Actually, let's go 14 maybe? 14 looks good. Go 14 and 1 and 14. And this is going to be our big slab that our building is going to sit on. Move it back a little bit and then pull it down into the ground, kind of like this maybe, or not hold control while we're doing it. I'm just going to kind of pull it down into the ground a little bit. There we go. So it just barely peeks out, and there's a little ledge thing. We can even rotate it a little bit if we want to, but I'm not going to worry about it just yet. I want to get the structure kind of started. So now that I have that, and there's my floor, I'm going to need some walls. So let's go, actually before walls, I'm going to make a little little ledge to walk up. So let's say the door is like over here somewhere. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to duplicate the floor, and I'm going to call this ramp. And this ramp is going to be, let's do the same size, but make this a little smaller, about a door size maybe. And pull it over here. And then this ramp, I only need it to be so big, and it's going to kind of dip into the ground. So I'm going to rotate it. And hold control to rotate. Actually will snap to the degrees, and then if let's go to world or global and move this down here and kind of hook it to that, and now I have a little ramp that goes up on there. And then the floor, I want this to be part of the building, so I'm actually going to create, I'm going to go game object and create an empty game object and use this as my parent for what's going to be the tower. So there's my tower. I want my tower to be kind of in the same area as this floor. So here's the floor. I'm just going to drag tower into floor, and that's going to set it at the same position here. So let's go to 0, 0, and 0. And then that sets it to the center of floor, and I'm just going to drag it back out real quick. Now it's at the center of floor, but within the world. Then take the floor and the ramp and put it into the tower. So the tower is an empty game object that has nothing on it. Then we have our two pieces that are part of the tower, and if I move the tower, now it takes all of that with it. So now that I have that, we need some walls. So inside of the tower, I'm going to say game object, create other, and then create a cube. And then this cube is going to be a wall. This wall needs to be part of the tower. And let's 0, 0, 0. Now that it's in here, let's make it the size of a wall. So if I move it up with control, now it's kind of linked to the size of that. It's a little further away from the edge, but I can change the scale of that. So let's do, I believe this was 14, not that direction. 14 this direction, nope, too far. Let's go 10 that way for a wall, and 14 that way. There we go. Now we've got kind of a ledge on here. And this is actually going into the ground. So I want it to be 10, but I want it to be 10 tall for the player. So let's move it up here. There we go. And I'm going to duplicate it and move it to the other side. So 10 tall, the ramp hits it. And then let's do the other two. The back one's going to be easy. The front one, not so much, because we have to make a door. So I'm going to duplicate this again. Then I'm going to rotate it, holding control. Oh, went a little too far. There we are. And then holding control still so it's snapping to grid, move this back, then move it back over here. And there's a wall. When you hold control on it, because of the size we used, it kind of left this like little edge here. And I'm okay with that for now. It'll add some detail to the tower, but I need a front. So I'm going to make this wall, but we're going to change the scale of it. So in order to make a door, it can't go all the way over. I'm going to reduce it down a little bit, pull it over. That'll be perfect, but I want it a little bit smaller. Now pull it over. Now it's like that. I can change this pathway so it's a little more in the middle here. Scale it out maybe a little bit. There we go. Now it fits. I'm going to duplicate this wall, and now I'm going to make it kind of fit here in this open spot. And then we'll have to change the height so that it matches. So right there, and then height. Oop, holding control so it snaps. And we'll have to make sure that our player can get through there. Snap down and up. This might be a little harder to get to set, so I'm just going to eyeball this for right now. This is just about, where's that? 7.1, so 7.1 to 7.2. There you go. That looks about right. There's our doorway, the player to walk into, and then our building. So let's see if this works. I'm going to hit play, and there's our building at the top of the hill. Here's the platforming stuff from an earlier video. Run up the side. Let's take a shortcut so we can get up there quicker. Still looking at it. There's our building. Run up the side here. And see if we can go inside. So here's our building. Run up the ramp. Now we're inside of this gray building. So there's, everything's the same texture. So we need to give this some detail so we can actually see what we're looking at. Also, I want to get to the top of this, but I'm also going to put a sky up there so we have something that's interesting when we get to the top. So let's go ahead and do that. If I have, I want to get to the top of the tower, I need to get a ramp that's going to let us walk the rest of the way up. Then we're going to apply some other textures to it, and should look pretty good. So real quickly, I'm going to go over prefabs. In Unity, a prefab is a copy of, like a master copy of objects that you can then make duplicates from. And if you change the master copy, it'll alter the non-masters or the children of that master, or duplicates of that master. So we're going to make a copy of the floor, and I'm going to grab the walls with it. So let's grab these walls. And if I drag this out here real quick, or let's not do that, let's duplicate this, kind of move it so we can work on our copy. So what this is going to be, I need the other wall here, and I'm going to duplicate that and move it over here. And so this is going to be the kind of prefab. This is going to be a floor. So I'm going to grab all these, move it outside of my tower, and let's go game object, create empty, and call this tower floor. And tower floor, I want to make sure this is in the same area as the floor was. So drag it under, move it to 0, 0, 0, drag it out. Tower floor is going to contain each one of these things. I'm control clicking to select them and then put that into tower floor. So tower floor is going to be the object that I make a prefab of. I'm going to set it to 0, 0, 0, so it's at what is called identity. And then I'm just going to take this game object and drag it down in my project and let go. And that created a prefab of the tower floor. As you can see, it turned blue, and now it understands that it's a prefab. So if I were to take this now and put it in here, there would be multiple tower floors. Let's put it where the tower's at. So there's tower floor, and if I move it up, now I have the other level of my tower complete with a floor, and you know, that all works. So that's in essence what a tower is, or what a prefab is. If you modify this prefab down here, such as if I remove something like the floor, so watch, floor is missing, or floor is there. If I delete it, oh, can't delete from here. If I delete from here, how about that? So delete this floor. So the floor is gone on this one. However, when I go to this floor, there's still, if you can see that, in this tower, there's still a floor because the prefab still has one saved. But you notice this is no longer prefab because it's no longer blue. However, this one is. And I can move this over here. Where are you at? Bring this back over here. This one also has a floor. So the master copy still has a floor, and the one in my scene does not. If I want to take my scene one and then make the rest of them the same, I can hit apply. And apply now changes it so that all of them have no floor. Or I'm going to undo that. Move that away, get that out of here. So now working without one with a floor, but that's in essence a prefab. So there's our tower floor. So I need a floor, but I don't need it to have like the whole floor covered. I want it to allow like a ramp to go up it. So, and I want it to not be like a whole length. So let's reduce the length of this. I'm going to change the scale here. And this, if I do it on the parent object, it'll scale all the rest of them without changing their original scale. It's just whatever the parent scale and rotation, everything is, it'll apply it to everything that's a child of it. So I'm going to change this to 0.5 height, so half of it. Get a half height wall, and then go down here to the floor and duplicate it, and then drag it up to here, kinda. And then I'm going to change the size of it. Oop. Go ahead and put it under tower floor. I want to make sure it's the same object. There, 0, 0, 0. Okay, cool. So if the player walks through here, I'm going to need like a walkway in the back. So I'm going to change the scale of this so I can let in some light and let the player kind of climb up through a ladder. There's my floor. I'm going to duplicate this floor and then make a smaller one. I'm going to call this ramp. And I'm going to move it over here. Kind of, sort of. It's pretty close. Just eyeball it. So there's the ramp inside the building. It's kind of hard to see, but inside the building. So let some more light in here real quick. I'm going to hit rotate and then rotate this down. And set it down here. Down a little bit more. Lighting's turned on. Let me turn that off so I can see. So here's the ramp. I need the ramp to come down a little bit more, like a lot more. Let's kind of making the rotation a little weird. Let's get this out of here. Something's going on with the rotation. So I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate this out. I think it's because I have rotation on something else. Duplicate that out and make it a separate object so I don't have any weird rotation issues. Scale this down to a ramp. And actually, let's make it fit the size. Let's fit that space that's here. And now rotate this down. Okay, now it's not doing anything weird. So scale it, or not scale this, but rotate it down so I can get this kind of platform thing going. I'm gonna change it from global to, there we go, local to global back so I can actually move this properly. So if I get this close, let's go local and scale, and then scale this out a little bit so it reaches the floor. There. It's not the prettiest of ramp, but it's a ramp. Very steep ramp. Go back to global, move this down a bit. Goes into the ground, and get out of here. And so that's in the ground. That goes up to the top. If I have to jump, I have to jump, but we have a kind of a ramp going on in there so I can get to the top. So in order to make this look more like a building, I need some sort of textures. So I'm going to jump over to a texture website and show you how to import those. Let's actually put this floor, or this ramp. This was ramp. Let's put ramp back into the tower floor. And then this whole thing's the tower. So tower with everything else in it. Oh, it actually messed up the rotation again. I'm not really sure what that's doing, but apparently the rotation gets all sorts of messed up when I do that. Put ramp under tower, nothing happens. So something's going on with this one. Oh, that's why. It's applying the scale to it. When it's applying the 0.5 scale to it, that's why it's getting all squished and weird looking. So I'm not going to put it under tower floor anymore. I'm just going to leave it there so it doesn't do that. And now let's move on to adding textures to this. Also, I'm going to rotate my tower a little bit so that it's a little easier for my player to get into and it's not so flat. So turn that way and back it up this way a little bit. Now there's our ramp. Move it back a little bit. There's our little walkway thing. I can even move it up a little bit like that. Now there's a ramp that goes into it, and tower's near the back here. So the walkway kind of goes right up into it. Cool. So rotated tower. Texture. Yeah. So I'm gonna go to Google and type in CG textures. When I go into CG Textures, CG Textures is a really nice website because it has a bunch of free to use textures as long as you don't try to redistribute them on your own website. I need some bricks. So I'm gonna go to brick and I'm gonna go to, let's do medieval because I want it kind of rough looking, and I can kind of pick through here and find one that looks right for me. So let's do bricks, and then in here, yeah, this one looks good. So this is a tiled set. So I'm gonna go to the tiled set and I'm gonna do a preview and change it to the smallest one so I can get more detail, and just save this out. Save this image as, and I'll just leave it as the same name that it was and put it on my desktop. And then jump back over to Unity. And remember, I could go to anything in here and say show and explore, and that's my folder. So two ways you can add stuff in this. You can go to your desktop and just drag, here's the brick texture. You can drag it into this folder, or you can drag it directly in Unity. So I'll drag it into the folder here to show that worked. There's the brick. Or I could drag it into Unity. So if I drag this back out, or not back out, but go Windows, Windows, Windows. So this thing, if I cut it and go back out to my desktop and paste it, then it's no longer in here. However, I can go right to my desktop and drag it back in here, and it'll add it right back. So just to show you that worked. Also, these all have default materials on it, so I need a new material for this. So I'm going to go, I'm going to open this up. Here is the platform material that I made before. I'm going to put our brick old rounded texture in here. I'm also going to rename it to brick, or let's do stone brick text for a texture. And then I'm going to say create material stone brick matte and drag stone brick text into there. And it's just going to be a diffuse. And then I'm going to select all of these things in the tower. Actually, I have some that do not have materials. So you can only multi-edit when they all have materials. Select those, select these. There we go. All right. And then I'm going to drag stone brick matte to default diffuse. And there we are. Now we've got some bricks on our floors and on our ramp and stuff so we can see better. They're a little ugly looking, and that is to be expected because we aren't using like a pre-modeled object. If you were to UV it yourself, then you could get something that looked a lot nicer. The best we can do with prefabs, or not with prefabs, but with primitives, is use what they have and then tweak it later. So I'm gonna go ahead and just use what we have. So let's go to the stone brick matte and then just change the tiling a little bit to get something that looks a little less gross. Hit like 2, tile that a little bit, 2 with that one too, or maybe 1 with that. That's not too terrible. So the top looks a little good, the bottom is kind of gross, but it works. The ramp looks like that, but we do have a building. And so once I get to the top of my building, I want to see the sky. Oh, that's water, the sky. So I need a sky. I believe Unity also has skyboxes. So I'm gonna go to assets and import package and then go skyboxes. There we go. And just grab one of them that they've already made. Import all that. It'll probably dump it into standard assets, which you could have checked when you're importing the package to find out what it was importing to. Yeah, there you go. Skyboxes. So in order to add a skybox, you have to go to edit and then I believe render settings. Yeah. And then in render settings, they have fog, they have skyboxes, the ambient light. So like we're outside. I should probably pick an ambient light other than gray. So like a blue yellow sky thing, maybe a little brighter, maybe yellow. Give it a warm sensation. Go bright and warm. There we go. And then, but a little foggy. Let's turn the fog on. Gray, brownish fog. Cool. And then change the material for the skybox to, we've got daylight, eerie. What does eerie look like? Let's turn on effects. There we go. So that's what that looks like. Here's eerie. There's probably something else that looks a little bit better for us. Nighttime. Can't even see. Oh, that's the water. There's moon. Like a moon dark thing. I don't want starry night, like an overcast. There we go. Something like that, maybe. And this fog. Let's make this a little closer to the sky color. Maybe just a bit more like that. There we go. That's a little better. So here's my scene with a sky. Turn those effects off again so I can see. Now when I hit play, I'll be in my level with a sky, with a tower, with my grass and everything. Water's reflecting everything off of it, so that's all nice. Let's jump up these platforms and start running towards this tower. And if I can get up to the tower, then I can look out at the sky. Well, I can look at it from here, but I want to go up through the tower. So here we go. Running to the tower. And go up in here, take the ramp. There's the little walkway. I'm going to jump up here and then run up the walkway. And at the top, jump up on the top, and now I'm going to look out, and there's my view. And there you have it. You have a a little tower that you can run up and see the sky, and you can't leave because this is all collision. But it's a small environment, and we built it all through these couple videos.